I've actually done a show in a strip club. That's
Welcome back to the Laugh Track Podcast. I am Brandon Michael Max, and today my guest is.
Rohan Mahashabde.
Now, Rohan, you and I met when we both performed at the Gotham Comedy Club.
Yep.
So I want to know, how did you get your start into stand-up? What was your beginning on that?
So it was literally like I don't know the exact date that I started it, but it was sometime December last year, and it was because I came in last place in my fantasy football, and the punishment was to do an open mic. And
Okay.
so like I was like, all right, I'm gonna take this seriously, write a bunch of jokes for it. And all my friends came to it. And what's weird is it was an open mic, but like they thought it was like an actual show,
Mm-hmm.
which is funny. So like people were like, so my friends were like heckling me and shit like that at an open mic. And I was like, yeah, well, it's kind of annoying, but like I started doing it and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed like telling jokes and stuff like that. I didn't do like that great.
Mm.
I remember my first ever joke was like, hey, this is my first time doing this and I'm really nervous. And when I get nervous, I I think to myself, what would OJ do? And he'd take a stab at it. That was my first ever joke. It's not great, but it's
Mm.
whatever. So and like that got like a decent amount of laughs. So I was like, okay, like this is fun, and just kept doing it around open mics around like New Jersey and stuff like that. And then after a while, I was like, let me try New York City because I work in New York City
Mm-hmm.
a couple of days a week. So and the rest of the time I work at home. So I'm an accountant. So I was like, you know what? Like after work, let me try like an open mic before I head home. And I started doing it like Broadway, Greenwich, and obviously we met at Gotham. You know, so like that. So it's been fun, like just like going around New York and trying to do stand up and
Yeah,
stuff.
so you say you've been doing it for roughly about a year and everything. So
Yeah.
in that year, have you had a joke that's just like you're always your go-to in your back pocket that you're always like excited, like, oh, I know I got one in the chamber ready to go?
Oh yeah. So there's one. It's like one of my best friends is Jewish. It's a Nazi joke, but it's a so like one of my best friends is Jewish, and I say that he has Nazi Tourette's because he always like he calls things that he doesn't like Nazis or
Mm.
people that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
So like we were waiting for the NJ Transit, and we got the announcement that was like 30 minutes late, and like he was pissed, so he was like, NJ Transit, those fucking Nazis. And I go up to him and be like, bro, if NJ Transit were Nazis, you would already be on that train, right? And so like that's like yeah, that usually gets like
Yeah.
a pretty decent amount of laughs. Yeah.
See, that is one thing I give such credit for is like I've definitely, and I'm not sure if people really, is like you tell the joke and you don't know how far you're able to go with it.
Yeah. That's
Because
tough. Yeah.
I remember at our show, there was one guy who I think his brand was just like that real, I don't remember his name, but I remember he just kept going one after one of just that over the line.
Oh yeah. I don't remember his name either, but like I do recall what you're saying. Like yeah, it's tough like to
Hmm.
know like when that line is, but at the same time, I guess it's like one of those things where you just gotta keep going fishing,
Hmm.
right? And you just gotta hope to catch like something that works, and you won't know until you try it, right? So
Yeah.
that's kind of like that's like the I guess like the fun of it.
That's the thing is, at least for me, I've certainly written jokes where it's like one word change and can take the joke from like a 4 to a 10, and one word change can take it from an 8 to a 2.
Yeah.
So, and that's why like
I mean,
that.
not even sorry, not sorry
Go
to
right ahead,
interrupt you,
yeah.
but not even like a word, even just like a pause
Yeah,
at a bad spot can really like
it is.
do that.
It's legitimate. It's like it's like dance and like math. Like it
Yep.
is all about that. And to what you said, there's a bit I love to do that's about Michael Jackson's "Beat It,"
Right.
and for probably like a good week, every time I did it, I tried adjusting one thing and everything, and it's insane knowing one more second of a pause, like makes the joke like flop a little or makes it better.
Right. Yeah.
Now, has there ever been a time like so besides your friends heckling you that you've been heckled and like how do you take on people who heckle?
Not that many times. Actually, so the first ever time, I don't know if you ever done the industry room.
Mm-hmm.
So the first ever is in Broadway Comedy Club, and the first time I did it, this was probably the second time that I've ever like performed in front of like a live audience and not just like open mic comedians. So I was like, oh shit, right? Like
Yeah.
I was like really I think I pounded like 4 or 5 beers beforehand. I was like, I gotta just drink, and I was one of the last comics.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like at the time, not to like gaslight, but I guess like the audience was starting to get tired. Like they're like, oh, can't wait to leave. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's like a when you do those industry room things, there's like 20 something comics almost.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So I was doing it, and I actually went over the time that was allotted,
Mm-hmm.
and I started doing. I tried this one joke where I was like, you know, like this was in March, so I was like, okay, Black History Month was last week or last month, and I did some research and I found out that Rosa Parks' husband had a car the whole time, and I was just like, and I didn't really deliver it properly,
Yeah.
and I was like, holy shit, and someone booed. A couple people booed. They didn't heckle, but they booed,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh crap, like this is this is wild. And then like I don't know why, but I was like, I just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went afterwards. I forgot exactly the joke that I was doing, but I got booed even more. And I was like, okay, I guess that's my time. Bye
Bye.
bye. Like, and afterwards they called me and they're like, yeah, you went like way over the time. And I was like, oh shit, my
Yeah.
bad. Like that's the crazy thing about stand up is you think that 5 minutes or something is a lot, and you do it and it goes by like real quick. So
No, trust me, I've had those. You've had those 5 minute sets that feels like you're up there for a minute,
yeah,
and you've had those 5 minute sets. It feels like it's 20 minutes up
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Like,
yep,
and I remember there was one time I did a show. I think it was like in South Jersey or something, and it was a normal audience, but in the back of the room there was 5 guys standing against the wall, and it was just like I was doing my set, and I don't know why it just kept bothering me that they were just standing against the wall, like their arms crossed with like their leg up or whatever, and just someone of that group yelled something, and it just something inside me went, "Yo, One Direction, shut the fuck up and sit down." And I remember they finally lightened up because they were the guys who like, you know what I never understood is the people who come to comedy shows that don't want to laugh.
yeah, yeah. It's dumb.
Like you've paid. I did a show maybe like a month ago, and the crowd was good, but there was these 2 women just in the front who just weren't smiling, weren't laughing, and I think Drew was the host. He's like, "You guys paid to be here. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
why don't you want to have a good time?" And I think after like the second comedian, they stood up and he's like, "No, sit down." He's like, "You're not leaving." He's like, "You're sitting through this entire show." But one thing with stand up is like where do you get your stuff from? Is this like you just think it? Is it like family oriented? Like where what
So
itches the comedy
some
part?
some of it is just like things that I think up of.
Mm.
Like I try to do. Like, I think that's kind of like something that I need to definitely work on is like transition from like joke to joke. Because sometimes I'll just like talk about one thing and then be like, oh, what about John F. Kennedy? And it's like, right, there's no like
Yeah.
direction anywhere. But yeah, I try to do like based off like current events. Sometimes it's like family stuff. Sometimes it'll be like history. Like I like to read books, watch documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it'll just be something, out of like that'll just pop up in my head out of nowhere, like or like I'll read something online and be like, and something will just
Come
pop
from
up.
there.
Yeah.
Now, what were the comedians that like inspired you, or that you take like kind of that comedy voice from?
So I don't really. So yeah. Since I'm Indian, Russell Peters definitely was like is the OG.
Mm-hmm.
So like obviously seeing someone that not doesn't really look that much like me, but same kind of background.
Yeah.
Seeing that was pretty cool. And then as far as like guys that try to emulate, it's a little like Sam Morrill. I think like he's one of my favorites. Dave Attell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I try to do like Gary Veter.
Yeah.
People like that, like who do like dry witticisms. Like one liners, stuff like that.
Yeah. Because that's one thing I noticed about your stand up when we had met was your writing is just it's very poignant and very, you know, set up punchline, and your delivery is absolutely amazing just
Thank you,
because
thank you.
for the brand of humor that you put out there, it's very hard because I know we talked about it like a minute ago, is having that balance of the right words, the timing. And would you say, like, in your time doing stand up, is there like a show you remember that's like, oh, I remember that just being a great show, or like just the crowd was electric?
Oh, so I'd say I don't know if this really counts as a show, but it was for my little brother's wedding.
Okay.
During the reception, they're like, "Hey, can you like?" Obviously, I was the best man too, so I had to make a speech,
Mm-hmm.
and so a lot of like my family friends, they were like, "Are you gonna do like a little stand up?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" And then I was like, fine. Like I'll do like a little. I'll do like a couple of jokes, but really it's like about I. I was trying to mix up like sincerity and then like roast my brother
Yeah.
too. So I did that and like somehow like I was able to time like I guess it was because I didn't have like a time limit
Mm-hmm.
in a sense. So I one of the things I know I definitely struggle with is like in between the jokes is like pausing and waiting for people to laugh
Mm-hmm.
for that. Like that kind of like helps build it up a little bit. So I did that. I was able to like, I got like the pause at the right time. You know, I didn't really do any like didn't have just
Yeah.
like, it was just straight flow and like everyone was cracking up. And I was like, this is so great. Like, never felt, my ego had never been higher,
Yeah.
you know?
You're telling the guy recording the wedding, you're like, send me all this. Is
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that's what that like they were like, bro, like a couple people were like, when are you doing, when's your next show? Like
Mm-hmm.
let me follow you on Instagram, stuff like that. Like his wife's friends and stuff like that. I was like, all right. As far as like an actual show, like a comedy gig, I'd say I had like in Broadway, I've had like a couple of times where I've just like done like fantastic,
Mm-hmm.
and it was one of like those main room shows, and
Yeah.
it was just like perfect.
So at Broadway, there's the two kind of rooms. There's the red room and then the
Yep.
main room. Did you like? I don't know about you. Do you have a preference on which room like you
Ooh.
perform in?
Um, I mean, I like the red room just because it's like a little closer up. You get to, I guess, like talk directly into like the audience.
Yeah.
The the basement one is a lot bigger,
Mm-hmm.
so I feel like sometimes you don't get like the same like sound amplification
Yeah.
with it, and you know, obviously like the crowd is bigger when you're in the like the main one, but it's I don't know. I just like the red room better.
Yeah. Something about the red room I like as well is, and it's funny. I did a show in the red room not too long ago, and I had a couple friends in the audience. And when I was talking to someone in the crowd, they kept asking, this is like after the show, and you'll relate to this, is when you talk to someone, you have to cover the lights.
Right, yeah.
Because, to the audio guy, you wouldn't know this, but with all the lights hitting you in the face, you don't see past the first row. So when someone's yelling out something, you have to cover just to be able to look out and see
Right, yeah.
who you're even talking to. Now, going back, you haven't really said you haven't had any insane hecklers or anything, but is that one thing that, not that you would encourage, but is it certainly, like, are you in the mindset of you're there to see a show, or if, like, do you ever, like, participate with the audience, I guess
Sometimes it's not. Maybe if it's to like get into a joke, but I'll just be like, hey, anyone seeing this, blah blah. But I won't really like engage.
Yeah.
But like there have been times where I actually have gotten like great crowd work, and it's gotten me like right into, like, there was one time in Princeton, I did a show. It's called a place called Catch a Rising Star. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
But like I started off fantastic, and this was like one of those things where it was like a 10+ minute show.
Yeah.
So I was like I was starting to like run out of material a little bit into it, and I was like, okay, like anyone here like an NBA fan, and someone was like, yeah, Magic John. I was like, yeah, sorry, I messed it up, but like someone was like, yeah, and I was like, who's your favorite player? He goes, Magic Johnson. So I was like, okay, perfect. Like, like you kind of threw me an alley oop in a sense. So I responded. I was like, oh, so like, did you give AIDS to him, or did he give it to you? You know,
when an audience member unintentionally sets up like the next joke perfectly for you, it's probably so rare, but it's absolutely going.
Oh yeah.
Because I've had that happen a couple of times where someone will say something and I'm like, I was like, this guy on the same wavelength.
Yes.
Now, do you find when posting your stuff on the, social media and everything, is it interesting looking back at your material going, all right, I'm going to post this, and not expecting a certain reaction, but knowing like this joke is, 30 seconds would be good to post? Like, what goes, because you post a good amount of your material.
Wow, that's a good question. I don't really. Sometimes I'll just look at like, you know what, like this is a funny joke, and if like even if other people don't think it's funny, I think it's funny, so I'll just like post it.
Yeah.
Like, cause sometimes like I know recently I did put up a joke, and there wasn't really that much laughter in it. I need to find someone who makes good laugh tracks. But I was like, like this is kind of interesting. Like, but it's like a good premise and stuff. But I just need to like improve on it. Sometimes, like honestly, I don't like. I guess it's just like my favorite jokes to tell. But it's what I've learned from following like different comedians online. Like some people will put like their actual jokes. Other people will post like their crowd work.
Yeah.
And to like, hey, come see if you like crowd work, come see me actually tell jokes. So, but I don't really do crowd work that much. So that's like kind of what I choose.
And what would you say, with, I feel like stand-up has blown up a little bit since like TikTok and everything, because it seems like that is, at least for the side I'm on, I see very often. And what do you think the biggest thing is like changing in stand-up and just kind of comedy in general? Like, for a while, I feel like the pendulum kind of swung to sensitivity. It feels like it's going back. So,
I mean, as far as like what you're saying with TikTok, I guess it's like because people's attention spans are shortening.
Yeah.
Where now like the whole like a 30-second or 1 minute joke is like kind of great in a sense, like to share. As far as like the whole sensitivity thing, that's up to the person in a sense. Like, you can't really tell someone what they should and shouldn't be offended by. So it's kind of like, okay, like if people, like I know like my joke can be kind of dark. So if people, like I've had people be like, that's not right, but it's like, it's a joke. I
Yeah.
don't know. Like I don't mean it. I don't like, say these things. I'm not gonna say this in like in front of the dinner table or like at work.
Yeah.
Just like a joke, and I don't mean it. You know. As far like also with like sensitivity, I guess like people like, are you gonna just be miserable at like this sad stuff? Like you might as
Yeah.
well look at the funny side of things. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and that's one thing that is just very interesting is, you know, especially doing, I guess, either open mics or just comedy shows with multiple comedians, is there could be people in the crowd who like one person's brand of humor and not the next one. You know, again, mentioning the one comedian who did that very edgy, dark material, like that might resonate with some people, but not for the others. And especially with the New York crowd, you get a very wide spread of
Right.
different
Yeah.
people. So, you've performed in Jersey and New York. Do you see a difference in the crowd or what you say? Or since it's kind of roughly the same place, it's kind of similar?
I mainly think it's pretty similar. It kind of depends on the location where you perform, right? In Jersey, it's not really like a lot of comedy club. I mean, there are, but it's not. I don't really perform in a lot of comedy clubs. It's more like coffee shops.
Yeah.
I've actually done a show in a strip club. That was a great like great crowd there.
Great.
Those people laugh at everything. Those fuckers laugh at everything. Like it's amazing. Like if you ever need like a ego boost, like
Go
oh
ahead.
like I'm not doing well, just go find comedy at a strip club and they'll like laugh at everything straight up.
We didn't pay for this, but this is a
Yeah,
benefit.
yeah. No, so I actually did.
I was gonna say, if you don't plan on telling the story, like,
Okay.
how do you end up at a strip
So
club?
it was a place called Black Betty's Saloon.
Love that, but no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I was kidding.
And it's like it's not just it's like it's a strip club and then it's the basement of a strip club, right? I'm not really selling this properly, but it's like and so really I didn't. So I went there for an open mic because I was like, okay, I need like an open
Right.
mic. And so like what you call it? When I got this gig here, I did my show, like had a great show, and they looked at me. Sorry, the guy who booked me and the bouncer walked right up to me, and I was like, oh great, I'm probably gonna get like fucked over, right? Because as soon as they bring a bouncer there, they're
Yeah.
gonna give you like bad news,
I got you.
right? So they're like, hey, I know we're supposed to pay you. Instead of paying you, here's a free lap dance. And of course, I took it. Let's be real. Of course, I took that shit. And instead of getting paid, I lost like $200.
Okay, got
Yeah. It was
So,
sad.
so I guess because in my mind, all I'm seeing right now is a bunch of people. It's you in the middle with a microphone, then two girls dancing on either side.
Yeah, I mean, so some people like there would be like a chick dancing and like a guy, and she'd be like, tell me about yourself. Not to me, but to like the other guy. I'm like, I'm Hindu. A bunch of, it's like I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? It was so funny, but like it was actually like a pretty fun like atmosphere, surprisingly. But it's like hilarious. Like if you think about it, like strippers and comics, like we're like it's
One and the same. One and the same.
like it's weird because it's like it'd be more acceptable for a stripper to make you laugh, but it would be horrible if I was like telling jokes and just gave people
Hey.
boners. Like it's. I don't think that's.
It must be real funny if you're popping
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
Oh my god! So you had your career highlight, and then that's absolutely so. you were there in an open mic. Now you said there was a basement, so you performed in
The basement.
the
Yeah.
basement,
Yeah.
which. So am I the only one who has to wrap their head around this?
Yeah.
So you do that gig, and then like, do you go back
No,
for comedy?
Yeah, of course. So I did. First I did the open mic there,
Okay.
and then afterwards they're like, "Hey, we have like a gig next week. We have an opening. Do you want to perform?" And I was like, "Sure," because obviously it's one of those things where when you're like a first year, lower level comic, you'll just take whatever gig you get, pretty
Yeah.
much. So I do it, and next thing you know, like the bouncer story and all that happened. Yeah, but yeah, I haven't been back since that show.
Damn, I rented out Broadway Comedy Club for our show.
Yeah.
I was like at the wrong venues. That's insane. So, is that the most unique venue you've ever performed at?
Oh, 100%. So I've also done like my uncle's 60th birthday party,
Okay.
and that like it was like a surprise, and it was a surprise 60th, and it was at like a banquet hall.
Mm-hmm.
So like everyone was like suited and stuff like that, or like dressed nicely, not suited,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
dressed nicely, and they were like, hey, like they told me beforehand, but I didn't really prepare. I didn't write anything for the 60th party, so I just did my material,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I opened up with like a dick joke, and it was in front of like my parents, aunts, uncles, like people that have known me for forever, and like the my uncle who turned 60, he's known me since I was like 2,
Yeah.
right? So it was just funny, and just seeing like there were a couple aunts and uncles who were just dying laughing, which really helped me out.
Yeah.
But most of the time, people were just like dead silent, and they're just giving me like uncomfortable ass looks. My dad was in the back, like, like my mom was like, "What the fuck?" Like afterwards, on the ride home, my mom was like, "Why would you tell a joke where you talk about your penis?" And I was like, I don't know, like, and it was like it wasn't even anything like dirty.
Yeah.
I was like, the joke was, it was like, hey, like, happy 60th birthday. I don't know if you had your annual physical yet, but I had mine recently, and the doctor was doing like the cancer check,
Mm-hmm.
and he said that I had a very average sized dick, and I said penis, not dick, but average sized penis, and so I was like, I never asked him, but he just said it out of the fucking blue. And so I'm curious. So I say like, "Hey doc, like, where are you getting this data from?" And he says, "Well, out of all my patients, you have a very average size penis." And so I'm like, "Okay, cool. Average. That's fine with me. That's not good. That's not bad. That's fine, right?" And he says, "Well, you have to remember that I'm a pediatrician." So I did. Like, that's a good joke, but like obviously it's kind of weird at like a 60th birthday
Yeah.
party and in front of a bunch of parents, So like did that, and it got laughs, but it was like mostly like stunned faces.
Yeah.
So, but then afterwards, it's one of those things where afterwards people were like, like that was actually like really really funny. I was like, cool. I wish you would have laughed. Though.
Yeah, that would have helped out a lot, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No, so no, I can really because I've done. When you're just starting out, like you said, you take any gig you can get, and I've performed the most obscene humor in front of my grandmother. And let me tell you something. My mom hates it. She hates that like I say these things in front of her. My grandma fucking loves it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The old people fucking love it.
Yeah,
They'll
that's
eat it up.
like even in front of my grandparents, like when I like they're like, "Oh, I heard you're doing comedy," and I started putting like some of my sets on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So he like my dad showed my grandparents, and they were dying laughing. My dad was just like, ugh,
The fuck is this?
like, I didn't raise you to be like this.
Yeah. Now, have you had that conversation with your parents where it's like I've mentioned like, when I was growing up, I got into stand up when I was like 15,
Okay.
and I always told him I was like, "Did you ever imagine raising me that you would come and I'd be talking about the things I do on stage?" And my dad's like, "Yeah, I didn't expect that out of you, I'll be honest, but like did you ever ask your like what did your parents expect and then how did you end up there, I guess?"
So, what's funny is like I'm like I even though I'm a like a part-time comic and stuff now, like that I'm usually like a pretty quiet person, especially like around big groups and
Mm.
all that. So, and also I'm one of those people where like even though I will take risks at stuff, I'm not like a person that's gonna like go out and like get out of my comfort zone in a sense. So with that, like my parents were like, wow, like I can't believe like you're putting yourself out there like this, like
Mm.
you're usually like a quiet dude, like like I haven't really, I'm not one of those people who will like randomly move to like whatever Chicago or something like and just like
Yeah.
out of the blue, right? Or something like that. But they were just like, you're like, oh my god, like I can't believe like you're doing this, and I think like my dad went to my first ever like show, and then he was like, you can do. I feel like you're funny, but you don't have to do like dark or edgy humor and
Mm.
stuff like that, and like or like same thing with my mom pretty much they're both like you don't have to like you're funny just in general you don't have to do stuff like that but I'm
Yeah.
like well it's kind of like the what I'm trying to I guess they thought I would do like which is what most Indian comics do is like they make fun of their parents but I can't really make fun of my parents. Like they like they bust their ass. Like
Mhm.
they moved here, they immigrated here. Like they busted their ass. They like even if they were like kind of strict, like they gave me a lot more freedoms than like other people get. So like I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like, spend time like making fun of them, right?
Yeah.
So and also like my mom and dad don't really have like an accent
Mhm.
so it's not like I can be like, oh, duh, thank you, come again. Like I can't really do that
Yeah.
with that. So yeah, that's kind of like what's like. I guess that's what like my parents, aunts, and uncles they expect me to do stuff like that, where I'm making fun of my parents, talking about how like they only expect like all A's, which they do, but they stuff like that. And so I'm just like, I can't really like, I want to try like something different.
Mhm.
So what's funny is like people expect that, but then they hear what I actually do. And,
Yeah.
but a lot of people are like, I like that you do something different.
Mhm.
So like, that's, yeah.
Yeah. It's always something when a non-comedian tells you what you should be doing.
Right. Yeah.
Now, do you have any brothers, sisters, or anything like that?
Yeah. I have a younger brother. Yeah.
Younger brother. Now, did so I'm the youngest. I
Okay.
got two older brothers. Did being the older brother kind of like influence stand up at all in the sense of like, did he? How much younger is he than you?
2 3 years.
So he's probably seen either you do stand up or
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. He's been to a lot of, ton of my shows. Yeah.
Now, has he done the thing where he's thought about trying it? Like, has he
No,
have
I
any?
don't think
No.
so. No, no, no. He like he's so what's funny is like me and my brother like especially growing up we were like almost like complete opposites
Hmm.
in a sense like he was into he's more of like a like garage band and stuff like that like he
Okay.
plays guitar he played like guitar I was more into like the drums
Hmm.
he I love like hip hop and all that he loved like rock he like emo My Chemical Romance, shit like that.
Gotcha.
Um, so we were different, and once I went to college, once he went to college, we kind of got a lot closer. But no, yeah, I don't think he would ever do stand up. But he is a lot. a lot more like charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of weird admitting that about like my younger sibling, but he's a lot more. He has a lot more charisma and
Okay.
stuff than I do. So, I mean, if he wanted to, I feel like he could give it. He would do pretty well. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he definitely has like a stage presence because he's done like guitar and all that. So he'd definitely be comfortable on stage. But yeah, it's weird to
Okay.
like get into that.
I see. Now, the friends that you did the fantasy league with, who you ended up pursuing this and everything, have are they shocked that like it kind of like worked out because you kept doing
Yeah,
it?
yeah, they are.
And
Yeah.
then have they always been like, you owe us one for?
Yeah, sometimes now they'll do. I don't know if your friends ever did this or
Go
like
ahead.
family, but they'll be like, "Oh, you should joke about this," or
It's the number one thing
yeah,
you hear is,
oh
"Oh, is
my
this going to be
god,
on your stand up
yeah,
or
yep,
whatever?"
yep. Like you should try doing this, right?
Hmm.
So sometimes people will do that. Like there's one guy in our group who is like I won't say his name, but like he's one of those guys who's like unintentionally funny,
Okay.
but he'll say something like kind of unintentionally like racist and stuff too.
Okay.
Like I remember one time we were in Mexico for a wedding. Like so we call him racist Mike. I guess I gave his name, but like and it's funny because like he'll be like we were in Mexico one time for a wedding, and this was like a chill day after the wedding, all inclusive resort. We were like by the pool. We have like it's a super fancy hotel,
Okay.
and we basically have like a pool to ourselves, right? And there's like a pool bar, like a pool, and we order a bunch of like room service. So we like put it all out on the table. I don't know if you ever heard of a coati. It's a it's in Mexico. It's like a mix between an anteater and a raccoon. It's
Okay.
kind of red, but one of those things jumps on the table and starts like eating our food. So like we're all chilling in the pool, and racist Mike comes up and he's like, "Someone get that coon off the table." And we're like, "Bro, you can't say that." We're like, "You can't say that." And we look, and he points and like, "No, really, there's an animal on the table." And there really was like a raccoon thing, coati on the table. Like,
It's moments like that where you know what your perception was, and you're like, "Oh, I was just way off."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, also doing the stand-up scene, at least from what I've noticed, is a big thing my parents are worried about is like, since it's the comedy scene, like it's all the drugs and alcohol and everything. I've never really had that,
No,
but
I've
also I
never.
just may have never been cool enough to be offered anything.
Right, yeah, yeah.
But that thing is, I have noticed with the stand-up scene as well. It seems like it's changed for everyone. I don't know about like any of the Broadway shows you've done or anything, but those green rooms are the quietest thing in the world.
Yeah.
You put 7 comedians in the room, barely a joke is cracked.
No,
Like,
no, yeah. I think it's part of it is just like I guess people are like worried about like their own like sets and stuff like that.
mhm.
So a lot of the Broadway shows I've done, like there've been like there's usually like a back row where people aren't there.
Yeah,
So like we usually just sit in the back and watch all the other comics. And other times you're just chilling in the hallway.
yeah, yeah.
So and a lot of times it's like, oh, like how's you're like everyone like it's just a bunch of like beginners
Mhm.
in a sense. So yeah, it's they usually are like really quiet and stuff. Yeah.
It's the funny thing, at least from like what I've seen, is I've done show like probably 10, 20 shows with certain people or whatever, and every single time it's like small talk. It's like that. It's like that first date. Like,
Yep,
so what have you been up to?
yep,
How's stand up going?
yep.
It's like I've fucking known you for like over a year and a half.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so now you've also done Greenwich, and I think you've done West Side, right?
Yep, and whiskey cellar too.
Whiskey
Yeah.
cellar. I have not done the whiskey cellar. What is kind of like your perception on that? I mean, like, how is that comedy club and everything?
It's it's very small. Like honestly, it's one of those like things where it's like it might be as big as this room,
Okay.
and you'd have like the mic and then like a bunch of chairs, and so like you're right up close with I hit the mic right up close with everyone, you know. So that's it's like it's cool like if especially if you're doing well and like you can definitely like feel you can almost feel them laughing. So like that's pretty cool. Um, I've only done like there's like two rooms in the whiskey cellar.
Okay.
There's like a side room which I've only done, and then there's like a basement almost or main. That's like the main room. So I've never done the main room. I've only done like the side one. So I haven't really seen what the main
Okay.
one looks like.
Now, again, talking about just like stand up and all, what would you say is maybe the hardest thing about someone getting into, like, if you could go back to you a year ago, what would like be a piece of advice you'd give him, or just someone who, hey, I want to try this out for the first time?
Honestly, just do like the first step is just going to like obviously I guess open mic, right? Go to as many as you can. Obviously like it was tough for me at first with like balancing a full-time job plus like that because there's times when you get back from work and you're just like fuck this dude, like I'm so tired. And like there are times where there'd be like a open mic and be like, you know, I really want to go to this, and then like I come home from it starts at 8 o'clock maybe or 7, and I get back from work at 6:37, maybe even later, and you're just like I don't really feel like doing this.
Yeah,
And
to
then,
rush and go to get to the mic.
yeah, just to do like 5 minutes of stage time and like probably probably not do well. So like that is that, and then you know, obviously like don't be afraid of like failure. Try to learn from it. Um, record all your sets, I guess, you know, like just to
That's a big thing now.
yeah, get like a nice base going, see like where what clicks, what doesn't, where you can improve, and yeah, just like being confident, you know. Yeah, that's probably it.
So, going with that, I mean, is there been anything in like your stand up, development that you, I don't want to say would change, but looking back, be like, I would probably cut back on these type of jokes, or I maybe would have gone farther knowing how it is now?
Um, I guess in a sense, like no, sometimes it's like knowing when to tell those particular. Like I don't regret telling joke. I just knowing like what part of the show to do it at. You know, like I guess like beforehand, I would like start off with like my worst, you know, like my like worst jokes in a sense, like the like worst content, right? Um, what I've learned, I guess, is like you gotta like start off small. You know, obviously, like what I guess most people say is start off like making fun of yourself before you like get into other people and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably like just you know start off making fun of yourself, and then you know gradually slowly get into it. But there's some times where for example, if you're doing like an industry room or something, you want to get like you what you think is your best joke. You want to get that out first, so to get the like the biggest laughter up
Yeah.
first, and then like slowly like work into it.
Now, your first industry room, do you remember like waiting in that? It was like
Yeah,
the back
it
area
was
and
a
everything.
back area, and they had like a you know it was like closed off too.
Yeah.
So it was like it was a very small back area too. It was like a room, almost a room inside of a room. It was almost
Yeah,
pretty much you're waiting in like a closet in a
pretty
sense.
much. And I remember, I don't know about yours. They had chairs in a circle, and there was the like plastic bin in the middle
Yep.
with a bunch of just waters and
Water.
ice in
Yep.
it.
Yep. Yeah.
And your industry room was in, you said March.
Yeah.
I don't know I think I recently did one. It was so hot in that basement.
Yeah.
The main area was cool and everything. The back room, we were sweating our asses off.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. I remember having that too.
And that's the one thing is like, I get a little pre-show jitters. In that moment, I'm just like, I'm sweating my ass. Like, I was like the last thing I was thinking about.
Yeah.
But do you remember specifically a show that did not go well?
Oh, okay. Well, besides my first ever industry room,
Yeah.
I think I'd covered that one already. I'd say like there was one time at Greenwich, but that was like kind of in a sense there were only like two people in the audience,
Gotcha.
so it's kind of hard to tell like if you like did well or not. But like they didn't laugh at like anything I said, and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Like,
that's another thing is like crowd is a huge factor on what works and what doesn't. Because, and I don't remember who said this, it's like some quote. It's like, if the joke worked on Monday and Tuesday, and on Wednesday the joke failed, but it's funny on Thursday, it wasn't the joke, it was just the crowd.
yeah.
And especially with, I've noticed, and I don't know how much on like up to date topics you touch on. I personally try to just stay away from, I guess, topical jokes because I think I made one. They're funny in the moment, but you just can never really use them again.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that's why I think there's I don't know if you know Mac O'Hara.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, him and this guy Alec Preston. They have a joke that they can only perform. I don't want to like take their joke, but they can only perform it on one day of the year, and it kills every time. But they're both like, it's the joke we can only say one time a year.
Right.
So you have to make sure you're performing on that day for it to work. But is there a brand of humor that maybe you don't stray towards, or that you just isn't your style?
Well, I'd say with sometimes topical humor in a sense. I usually try to stay away from like politics, obviously, unless it's like something that's like really funny in a sense, where like for example with like the whole Hunter Biden thing when he was doing crack. Like that was like that's like a fun thing. Obviously, you can like joke on and continue to joke about too.
Yeah.
For like being an Indian comic, I'd say just like doing people who do like the accent, like you know, they like talk about their like families and stuff like that. Like I try not to do that.
Yeah, because that's one thing is like with your background, because again, I've seen you do stand up and I've watched your stuff, is you straying away from that is noticed where, you've talked about your family, but you've never gone after your family.
No.
And not that there's a right way or a wrong way, but do you just find that to be maybe easier humor? I guess you're saying is that like you kind of said earlier.
In a sense,
it's what you're expecting.
Yeah. That's actually a lot of times what like if an aunt or uncle comes up to me, they're like, "Oh, like you're not doing anything about like your mom and dad." I'm like, "No."
No. Now, is there maybe like a piece of media or entertainment that you would say is probably like the gold standard of like what you see as stand up? Like my first time I've ever seen a stand up special, I was like 14 and I watched Delirious at home.
Right.
So is there like a stand up special that you think is like that is the gold perfect?
Like I loved. I think yeah, Russell Peters is like
Mm-hmm.
it was when he was like first starting to blow up, in a sense. It was on YouTube. It wasn't really given like a name, but that was like one of the first ones I've ever seen, and like I was just dying laughing like
Mm-hmm.
the whole time. Um, Anthony Jeselnik, his
He's funny.
yeah,
He just had one come
yeah,
out.
he just had a special come out. Yeah,
Bones and all, I think it's
yeah,
called.
yeah. That one's pretty good too. Like his fuck, I forgot what the actual what the name of the special was called,
Mm.
but it was like one of those like earlier ones. But I was like, yeah, that's like straight fire. And
Yeah.
then yeah, Aziz Ansari, he had moments of a sensual evening.
Mm-hmm.
That one like really like cracked me up too. So it's yeah, those are like the main ones I'd say.
Okay.
Also Louis C.K.
Yes.
Yeah, hilarious. I think that's what the special is called.
Yeah, that was one of his not like one of his first ones, but his earlier, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
Now, is there a comic that you think their writing in any media is like, so like when you see something, you know if Larry David wrote it, or you know if it was like Tina Fey. Like, is there a writing style that you like?
Um, hmm. I'd say just like a like witty, like one liner
Mm-hmm.
style. Because sometimes like if you get into like a big story, it can be hard to keep track of, especially when they like come back to like a joke they made like earlier
Yeah.
in the story. Um, yeah, I guess like one liners in a sense. Like that's I usually love those because they're like quick and but if you can like do multiple in like one story, that's obviously like that would be like the best.
Best cause.
Yeah.
Again, I absolutely love that. Well, I guess quickly talking about the show in January,
Yeah.
which I appreciate you coming on to be, because I remember when you were doing your set, I was absolutely loving it, and that's why I think we kind of talked a little bit
Yeah,
either
yeah.
before the show or a little bit during, and that's why I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you doing the live show, and you know, is there anything that like you would also want to promote? I'm not sure if you're doing any. I know December's always hard with stand up, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
holidays and a lot of tourists. I've noticed in like
Yep.
when I do stand up, but is there anything else that you like are working on or shows that you're getting ready for?
So actually have one tonight at Whiskey Cellar.
Okay.
Yeah, that's doing like a guest spot there.
Hmm.
I'm doing another one December 22nd. Uh, one at the Whiskey Cellar and then another one at Broadway. One's the Whiskey Cellar is at 4, and Broadway is at 7, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, December 22nd. So I have a question for you. Have you ever
Okay.
had to like stand outside and like be like comedy tickets, comedy tickets? Have you ever had to do that?
I have not had to do that yet.
Okay. So
Go
I've
ahead.
had to do that like a couple of times where it's like instead of getting paid for like the tickets, you basically just get stage time,
Hmm.
right? So uh, it's weird because I was doing this at Greenwich where the comedy cellar is really like right next door. So it's really difficult. It's like one of the most difficult things I ever had to do.
Yeah.
Like, cause especially like what's kind of dumb about it is if you're if you're there and you're like you probably already bought tickets to see comedy anyways,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're in that area and if you're going to see a show,
Hmm.
like it's not gonna be people. It's it's really tough to find someone like just walking around the street and be like, "Hey, you want to come
Yeah, let's
watch?"
pop in right now.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
watch like some amateur comics like perform, and like that's pretty tough. But somehow I actually got like 2 people to join, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Mhm. That's one thing is I think people also don't realize is when you see people yelling that on the street, they're usually stand-ups just trying to get stage time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, some people are just like working the door too, but like,
Yeah. And that's why there's a woman who works at Broadway who does the front door, and then she'll come down and do the show.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm forgetting her name right now, but I love that she'll get on stage. She'll be like, "Yup, also I do stand up." And the place is always like, she's like, "I have your guys' credit card information and everything." But yeah, that's no. So, do you have like a favorite venue you go to? And also with those breaks in the show, you said you have like 1 at 4 and 7. What do you do? You just hang around? Like, do you have like a pre-show ritual or something?
I never had actually. This is probably the first time I ever had 2 in like one day.
Okay. What are you gonna do at your time? What are you gonna?
I think it's a Sunday, so football.
Gotcha.
Just
Who's
like
your
go
team?
to a Eagle, Philadelphia Eagles.
Fuck yeah, let's go.
You know, like I
Who's
if
your
you
team? Okay.
like it's so I guess it's like one of those things where just like go to a bar, watch the game, grab something to eat, maybe like a beer or something, and then
Oh right, because the game's like 4 on.
well I gotta check for that particular
that's
day,
the Sunday I'm
that
thinking of.
particular Sunday, but it's like 1, 4, and then like 8:30. You know, so this
Dude,
time.
we're doing good this year. I'm an Eagles fan as well.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So we're finally doing. We got the Steelers this Sunday.
Yeah.
Are you a Steelers fan? Is that what it is? You're allowed to talk.
No, I'm a Giants fan.
Oh,
Saquon, baby.
Oh.
Saquon. Thank you for Saquon.
You're welcome. Just give you everybody else. Too.
Yeah.
No, that thing is it's so. Oh, my dad's gonna love this portion of the podcast talking about sports. Dude, we're finally playing good. I watched the Bengals and the Cowboys game the other day.
Yeah.
I'm out watching the game with a couple of friends, and it's me and my buddy, his girlfriend brought a friend, and I don't know if you ever noticed this, like, she was a huge Bengals fan, and the Cowboys scored a touchdown in, I think, like, the first quarter, and one dude in the back starts clapping, and she starts yelling at him, like, "Oh, shut the fuck up," or whatever, and I was like, listen, I know my buddy's not getting into a bar fight. I'm certainly not trying to get into one. I was like, and this girl's like 5'1". Like, I'm like, you're gonna cause an issue that I'm gonna have to fucking fix.
Yeah. So I've actually I went to college I went to Drexel in Philly. So a lot of times like they'd have like sometimes they'd give like student discount tickets and stuff like that. So it wasn't really that much of a discount, but it like so we'd be like, you know, fuck it, let's go, right? Couple of friends. So one time, like one of my friends is like, he's sober now, but when we were in college, he was like a huge alcoholic, right? And I mean like really like a straight up alcoholic.
Gotcha.
Like he'd like we were in the same like dorm freshman year, and this dude at like 2-3 a.m. every single night would just be like yakking his brains out because he was just pounding. He'd drink like straight bottles of like not just like good whiskey. It'd be like the cheap I forgot exactly what the brand of whiskey was called. It was like one of those cheap whiskey brands.
Yeah.
He would just like kill the bottle of it and then just like yak and then like and it was like what the but anyways, like we went to go to this game. It was a Monday night game against the Chicago Bears.
Okay.
And this kid is one of those people who like stands up, you know, on a third down. He's trying to get the whole crowd. He's trying to hype the crowd up. And the Bears were winning this game. And like a Bears fan was like, hey, like you know, like a great game, you know, like it's a fun game, blah blah. Like, he was being nice. He wasn't really talking shit. But my friend was like so drunk, and he was just like, "Oh, well, fuck you, Bears fans! Like, go back to the Windy City and blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And like the fans started getting in his face, and like I was like, "Oh my god!"
Rohan
like,
had to lay it down.
I don't want to like do this. So thankfully, like they were able to separate, you know. But it was just like come on, like we're all trying to have a good time, you know. You don't gotta like don't ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah, I think there was
Surprisingly, my like that same friend got on TV that game. He was just like, "Grr," like he was just doing one of those. And he was a chubby guy.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. It was like the funniest thing. And he got on TV, and then I think it was Barstool on Reddit. Like they put like a video of it. This was like 10 plus years ago.
Okay.
They put it on Reddit, and a bunch of people were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's Eric Cartman in real life." And I was like, "Oh no, like this is horrible." I felt so bad, but at the same time, you caused this to yourself.
No, that's funny. I've my friend Eliza, who's been on the podcast, she posts like random stuff on TikTok, and this shit, some of the most random things blow up, and you read the comments, people come up with the most fucking ununique comments in the world.
Yeah.
I think I don't even remember what the video was, but she was talking about how something was like $200. She's like, "Oh my God, it's $200," and someone was like, "In what world is $200 a lot of money?" Fucking this one.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
like, who the fuck? And also, I don't know about you, getting comments on stand-up videos, it's like, what the fuck do people have better do with their time?
Yeah. I mean, like, luckily, I haven't gotten any like hating comments.
Yeah.
But like most of the time, it'll just be like someone with like a laughing emoji, or like a friend giving like a fire, like, "Hey, like keep it up."
Yeah.
But like, I think I gotten one like hateful comment, or not, I guess like he was like, you should stick to your day job or something. I was like, I am. Don't worry."
No, there was one. I posted some thing against like Taylor Swift or whatever, and someone was like, "This is." I think I said, like, dating a Taylor Swift fan is crazy or something. I don't even remember the video, and someone commented, "That's like yelling bomb in an airport." No, no, those are two very different things.
Yeah.
But, that's great. I imagine we're at time. Right there. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
And I'm really excited to have you on the show in January. It's January 21st at the Broadway Comedy Club. And again, I just appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, I appreciate having me and having me on the show.
Yeah. As much as we met at that one show, I'm a fan of yours, and I very much appreciate you taking the time to do this. So
absolutely, thank you
again. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah.